Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Commanding the Market. I'm your host, Nathan Hale, and I am joined once again by my co-host, Trent Richardson.
What's happening, Hale? How's it going?
It's going pretty well, man. I've been thinking about some of these specs we've had and how they're doing, and I like checking up on them and kind of seeing how we did, what our report card's looking like. Now, some of these that we've done are definitely the more long-term specs, probably at least half of them. But we decided we were going to take an episode or two and just kind of update you guys on where we are and how we've done, a scorecard or report card, if you will. So thanks for jumping and checking out. So, Trent, what do you think, man? How have we done overall?
Honestly, so by my scorecard I've got here, we're looking at about 50-50. I mean, we're about half and half as far as, what we've hit on and what we've missed on. But I mean, I hate saying hit and miss because, we've been doing this for about a month and a half, and that's not nearly long enough for any kind of maturity in anything that we've discussed at this point. So, while yes, some prices are down from where they were when we first spoke about them, some prices are up from where we first spoke of them, and some are kind of remain the same. But it's still notable to see kind of the trends at this point, a month and a half down the road, to see kind of where the card might go to. And even if it is down, you and I have talked about a few of these that are down that we still feel like are viable pickups. I mean, the lower they go, the better investment they are, So while yes, some are lower, I wouldn't necessarily call them misses because they're still viable opportunities, So anyhow,
So I'm thinking as we go through these, some of these we may talk about a little in depth. Others we're kind of just gloss over probably. And we're going to do this as 2 episodes just because we've covered a lot of content. So we're gonna break these down at least a little bit. And we figured it's going to be a little too long of an episode if we try and fit it all into one. So this will be part 1 of 2. And this first one, I think we're going to cover the first 3 weeks, 3 episodes we did of the show.
Right, and then the second video we'll do the next 4 videos. But man, I think going back to July 1st, I believe July 1st is the first day we recorded, if I'm not mistaken. So the video
I can't remember the exact dates, but it was definitely there or right close there. I know M21 was about to come out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think the following Monday is when the video aired after the 1st of July. And man, that first video was all about Core 21, and everything's down. It's all down. It's all down.
There's a couple that are kind of towing the line from where they were. I will say notably one of them, when I put this on the show originally, I was using mid, not market, which I've since changed tactics from that. But initially I was using mid, and on the mid, it has actually seen about a 33% increase from where it was. But on market, it's pretty much flat. Take what you will from that. We'll get to that one. But let's talk with the let's talk about our favorite pick from that episode.
Yeah. So Sublime Epiphany. I'm still kind of at a loss as to why this card has just kind of it has went down. It's went down about 71 cents on the market price from where it was. So
down
originally, I think when we talked about it, it was $2.69 market. Now it's $1.98. 71 cent change isn't really a lot, but that is, it is pretty considerable. It's about a 25-30% loss in the card. Now, I still think this is a viable card. It's great in EDH. I'm
going to try and tell the story I told you, but condensed because I know there's a lot to it.
Yeah.
So I'll
go for it because this is awesome.
So I was playing EDH online last week with a group. Shout out to the Magic Discord group, Coral Sword, and the store itself. Great place, good people. I was playing my Kefnet, God Eternal Kefnet deck, and I had Kefnet on the board, as well as a Scroll Rack, which I just cast, a Sensei's Divining Top, 5 islands untapped, and a Sublime Epiphany and Expropriate in my hand. The player to my left had just played the turn prior, or just played out a Pernicious Deed and had 6 mana open. The player following him, who was the active player, had KCI and Sword of the Meek in play and was casting Thopter Assembly. Thopter Foundry. So he was about to combo out. And then the player right after him, which is the player before me, had a squee out with a bunch of equipment. It had done a lot of commander damage to me, and my creatures were currently all tapped. So if he got to swing in with that, he could end me before I won the game with an infinite expropriate. So with the Thopter Foundry, Foundry on the stack, the one player has to blow Pernicious Deed. They're doing it for 6. So with these all on the stack, I use the Scroll Rack to put the Expropriate and the Sublime Epiphany on top of my deck. Then use Sensei's Divining Top to draw the top card, which is the Sublime Epiphany. Kefnet triggers because it's the first card I drew for the turn. So it reduces the cost by 2, and I can play the spell a copy for free. Or not for free, but reduced by 2. So using the 4 remaining mana I had open, I Sublime Epiphany, countering the Thopter Foundry.
Nope.
Killing the trigger of Pernicious Deed. Bouncing the commander that could swing in at me. Making a copy of my 5/4 flying fairy whatever, so I'd also have a potential blocker if needed. And drawing a card to get that Sensei's Divining Top back off there, so when it came to my turn, I could expropriate for the win. That was all thanks to Sublime Epiphany. Man. Phenomenal card. I think as people really start playing it and seeing what it can do, this card is going to go up. And actually right now is just a great time to get it because it's currently down. I don't expect that to stay.
I mean, how many times in your Magic life do you get to play a card that says counter target spell, or that says basically counter spell, stifle,
draw a card, bounce a permanent,
draw,
and make a copy of a creature you control.
Oh my god.
It's so good. And when you do it, it's like when you pull this sort of thing off, you're just like, it's so beautiful. And I've seen another player get all 5 triggers on a different game. They were playing Sublime Epiphany. Yeah, guys, this card's no joke. People just got to learn, and believe me, time will prove this card. But for now, it's down, which means this really is a good time to get in on it. Yeah,
keep buying them, guys, because even $1.98 is such a good card for $2. Yeah. I mean, it goes in every blue deck, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm gonna sing the praises of that card forever. So good.
Yeah. So another one that I was I was pretty excited about, Rada, Heart of Kelv. In fact, I built a commander deck based around him. It's just
I think it's a her. Rada.
Or her. Gruul aggro deck, it does well. Now, I will say it's not as powerful as it kind of seems, because it is only pumping himself. So I can see why, it's lost some market share here, but we started out at a market price of $1.17. Now we're down to 98 cents. So only a 19-cent loss, not a huge deal. But that's probably where he's going to stay at. I'm not expecting this to be really specable at this point anymore.
I do know it has been growing in popularity. I hear a lot of other channels will talk about it. I'm actually fairly impressed with the card, which says a lot considering it's Gruul. But I do find that a lot of time the gold cards, it's a little harder for them to see spikes unless they are super popular, because they're not as easy to slot into decks in EDH. Right. I do still think the card's good. Now, another one we didn't exactly spec on, because I think we both knew it would be dropping quite a bit, but we did mention it because we thought, this could be good as the price goes down on it, just to buy into it, and that would be Grim Tutor. Mm-hmm. So Grim Tutor, I think at the time that it was on the show when we talked about it, I think its market price was $24.50 roughly. Roughly, yeah. And now it is down to $13.54, which is $11 loss there. So it's dropped a lot. But the good news is, if you are looking to get Grim Tutor, now might be a good time to pick it up. Yeah, or a tutor for under $20. I mean, is pretty good. There's not a lot of them out there. I mean, it is 3 mana. There's not many 3 mana tutors under $20 out there. So I don't think there's any that are get any card. There's definitely not. Yeah. Beseech might be, but it's got limitations. Beseech the Queen. Yeah, and then Mystic Tutor or Ristic Tutor also has some limitations. Yeah, but it's bad. It's not. It's bad. Don't play it. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So another one that we had talked about, and this is actually kind of surprising to even this point. I thought it would have went up quite a bit by now or rebounded, but his Heroic Intervention. Yeah. I mean, it hasn't dropped too much. Well, go ahead. Tell them where it's at. Yeah, I mean, Heroic Intervention, it hasn't dropped too much. It started out at $6.18. Now we're down to $5.82. It's only 36 cents. It's not that big of a drop. I would say it's it's just kind of stayed the same than a drop, but I would have expected it to rebound a little bit faster. I would have thought by now it already would have been up pushing 7. Just because price memory of that card. Yeah. And its playability. Maybe it has something to do with the alternate art, the full frame version of it. Could be. As I believe that one is up a little bit, but even so, I still think this is very speccable even now. It's bound to go up. It's get played so much. Yeah, barring them continuing to reprint the hell out of it, it will definitely go back up. Mm-hmm. It's just played too much. Yep. So I'm gonna mention 2 here that I had mentioned both at once. I don't want to spend too much time on them. They're Idol of Endurance and Basri's Lieutenant. Idol of Endurance was around 45 cents and dropped down to 21, so it's lost just over half of its value, down by 24 cents. And Basri's Lieutenant was at 75 market, down to 28 cents market, a drop of 47 cents. However, I want to talk about both of these in particular because this is exactly what I expected they would do at this point. Because everything getting opened, I'm expecting a lot of the prices, and as you're already hearing, M21, a lot of the prices dropped. In fact, Double Masters is kind of an anomaly in that it hasn't followed the normal trend, but I think it's going to start to catch up to that. But regardless, these 2 were both ones I felt buying into them low and holding long term. Now, Basri's Lieutenant, I'm not honestly super hot on. I think it's a good card. I think it's a fun combo card. Get it while it's super cheap if you don't have one. But the Idol of Endurance, I actually went ahead and I bought a bunch of the extended art ones because they were 48 cents. Yeah. So I still actually feel good about this card, Idol of Endurance, in the long term. I think something's going to come around and make that card really busted good. Yeah, it definitely has the opportunity to. I don't know that anything exists present day, but there's constantly changes and new cards coming out in the game. So at any point in time, that thing can go from 0 to a hero. So yeah, still a good spec on that one for sure. So what about Patrick? Patrick's pick. Well, so we'll have to get him on. He'll just do his write-in. Patrick's pick. Yeah. So
maybe we'll get him in here one of these days. He's a couple of hours behind us, so he probably is just now getting off of work. I mean, it's 9:45 here, but he's probably just getting off of work there.
He's a couple. I thought it was only 1 hour behind us.
Well, so they don't have daylight savings time there. So
interesting.
Yeah, during the summer it's 2 hours, and winter it's 1 hour or something. I don't know, something like that.
Right.
But yeah, Niambi, esteemed speaker. Yeah, just as I thought. It's down 13 cents from 43 cents to 30 cents. So, Patrick, if you're listening, sorry, bud.
Well, I want to talk about this one here, Garrick's Uprising. So this is kind of interesting. It's if you're looking at the market, it pretty much hasn't moved. I think it was 64, now it's 62. However, the market did at one point get as high as 80 cents in August, earlier this month. Now, what I want to note, though, is when I originally did this one, I used mid, not market. And at that point, the mid, which isn't, like I said, I've switched away from that, but it was at 50 cents mid and is now up to 75 cents mid. So it's had a 33% increase as far as the mid's concerned. Right. But Angelic Ascension, another one that I do like. That one went from 33 cents market down to 15 cents, a drop of 18 cents. So that one has definitely nosedived.
Definitely so.
But
and
good to pick up if you want some.
Yeah, a couple of other uncommons that we had. Both of these just kind of stayed the course. I still do like both of these cards, especially. I think last week in the last video we were talking about the gain 3 life
theme,
themes that are going on right now. Indulging Patrician and Griffin Airy, both basically no change. However, it is notable that Indulging Patrician got up to 43 cents just a couple days ago. But when we first talked about it, it was at 31 cents. Now it's down to 27 cents today. So, it's basically the same. 4 cents. It's negligible. So that's pretty much it for that first episode where we talked about nothing but Core 21, and what a travesty it was.
The prices have just plummeted on that set. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But hey, it's a good opportunity for people to pick up good singles cheap right now.
Yeah, and it's sad too because it's such a good core set. I mean, it's maybe
it's arguably the best core set, since what, 4th edition?
Probably. I mean, I still thought 2020 was good.
Yeah, same here. That was actually my favorite up until 2021.
Yeah. And then I thought 2021 was even better than 2020, which is hard. I mean, hard to do, first of all. But man, maybe everybody pumped all their money into Core 2020 and opened a bunch of it up and didn't have anything left for Jumpstart or Double Masters.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
kind of crazy.
Time will tell, I guess.
Time will tell. And you know what? Something that we didn't mention in the first episode, but we did have on our list was Teferi, the new Teferi.
Yeah, we didn't talk about him, but we did. He was initially on our list.
Yeah, he was initially on our list as kind of like this is going to be the best card in the set. It still is the best card in the set, but it's not $45 anymore. It's more like $25. So
somewhere around there.
Even it's taken a huge hit on the top end. So man, that's terrible. Anyway, so let's move on. We'll move on to our second episode, which I believe we on July 8th is the day which we filmed that episode.
Yeah, and this one we actually were talking about collecting in a pandemic. And this was an episode which we spent a lot of time talking about sets that were coming out, everything going on with what you should or shouldn't potentially be doing in a pandemic. I think that was a really good episode. There was a lot of good info in there, but not a lot of speculation as far as cards. Although we did mention a few ones we had spec'd in before, two in particular, and another one that I don't remember how it came up, but it briefly came up. And I'll start with that one.
Okay.
Let's start with that one because I'm the one that brought this up, and I do want to point out that I did say it had a chance of being spec worthy, at least to pick up in abundance while it's cheap, and that's an uncommon called Fierce Empath. Barring, of course, that it didn't see a reprint, I figured it would jump up to 50 cents, maybe at some point $1. Well, it's reprinted in the very next set, Double Master. So it's
at
done.
common.
Yeah, it's kiss that one goodbye. It was at 19 cents. It's now down to 15 cents, a drop of 4 cents.
Yeah, and it's going to stay at 15 cents for eternity.
Yeah, it's going to be there a long time now.
Yeah. So one spec that that started this show. So, and I mentioned this in that episode, is Faber Elder. So Faber Elder is the reason we're sitting here. It's the reason you're all sitting here. This is a card that I looked at when it first came out, and I think Hale, you and I, we've been talking about this stuff basically since we met.
Yeah.
But I think you and I had talked about this card when it first came out, and we were both just like, man, because we draft a lot. It's not that great in draft, but we always talked about how good its potential was in Commander.
Oh yeah,
and even potentially Standard or Modern or any of these formats.
Yeah,
where you're playing multiple color decks. It just seems like a good fit, as long as you're playing green and white. Mm-hmm. So
I remember not long ago there was I don't play. I think it's a Pioneer deck. It was, and there was the Nib Mizzet one, the 5-color Nib Mizzet. And I'm wondering if it saw play in that or not, or what. I don't know what the build was like. Again, I don't really step out of, besides Limited and EDH, I don't play the other formats. But I wondered, like, in a Nib Mizzet deck, it would seem like a 5-color Nib Mizzet, it seemed like a no-brainer in something like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know,
even in the Commander version of it seems like a no-brainer in that.
Yeah. I think Jeff in our play group, he has a Nib Mizzet deck. I believe it's in there.
Yeah,
it should be if it's not sense. Jeff.
But it's still 268. It was what it was when we talked about it originally. Today, 267. So essentially, no change at all. I will mention though that briefly this month it did get up to $3. So that could be a sign showing us that it's going to start to be on the move here pretty shortly. So
well, it changed. It jumped, if I recall, quite a bit this year. Like it was under $2 at the start of this year.
Yeah.
So it's jumped up a bit from where it was at the start of the year. So I don't think it's plateaued per se at $3. $2.67, $3 around there. I think it still has room to grow, but it may at this point take the rotation, for it to move out, because I don't really think this card sees much play in Standard that I'm aware of.
No, it sees literal
so it's
zero.
pretty much, I think, EDH driving the card. At this point. But you know what card is driving really hard? And now I know you've got some numbers on here. However, I remember the numbers. I'm going to call it the numbers of what I had on the show at the time. Because I checked this. And this card is one I spec'd on back in May. In fact, I just sold quite a few copies. And that is Shark Typhoon, a.k.a. Sharknado. So this sucker was at a mid of $6, and it looks like a market of 9. So was it actually a market of 9 when we talked about this?
Well, okay. So on the day we talked about it, it was odd because we actually spoke about it after. We never technically spec'd on it.
No, we just talked about stuff we had spec'd on.
But when we finally did talk about it is the day that we were going to give it away on the show. And on that day, it was $9. I believe that before we started the show, it was at like $9.99 market or something like that, or mid.
Right.
what have you.
So yeah,
but
it was
the market price that day was $9.
Now I know on the 8th when we talked about it, the mid was $6, and because I remember I was excited, I bought into them at 4 1/4.
Yeah, before we started the show was when you and I talked about it. It was about at $6.
So either way, though, it is currently up to a market price of $11.53, which is pretty much right there, the same with the mid. I think the mid is sitting at the same point. That's up $2.53. This thing, since the show started, has gone up, as I'm sure if you pay attention to this, has gone up. It's had a double up, from more than double up, actually, just a little more than a double up. Phenomenal card. I did expect with the banning of Wilderness Reclamation for this card to drop. I was like, okay, it's going to drop. It's going to lose $1 or $2. Nope. There's a reason. It's played everywhere. Where?
Yeah.
Well, that's not true. Pauper doesn't play it for obvious reasons. Everywhere it is legal, it is played. Mm-hmm. Vintage, Legacy, Modern, Pioneer, Standard, Commander. And that's when I looked at this card, I thought, okay, I want something that's good for Commander that may not be reprintable. These are, every time with a new set, I look for any cards like this. That's good in EDH, that doesn't seem like something that might easily be reprinted because of a weird mechanic or theme to it. And also if it has potential viability in other things. But most of all, I look at it and go, if I've got 3 or 4 decks that are screaming to have this card in it, it could be spec worthy so long as the price is not insane. So when I bought into them at $4, 4 1/4, I think it was, I was like, okay, I expected maybe $6, $7 in the long run. I didn't expect this big a blow up, but that's because I don't play all those other formats, and apparently when they want the card too, it's going to drive those prices up. So
yeah,
definitely a good one. I wish I could say that I saw in M21 a card that screams a must, like with Shark Typhoon. There just really wasn't. You know, the closest was Garrick's Uprising for me. I was like, that card seems, barring some reprints that were in M21. But I mean, new cards. Garrick's Uprising was about it.
Yeah, I remember we did struggle a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry. And Sublime Epiphany. I skipped over it. Sublime Epiphany was the big one, and then Garrick's Uprising as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yep, so that was it for that second episode. And, you know, like you said, we didn't spec a whole lot on that episode. We mainly talked about, buying and collecting in the pandemic. So we hope that you guys got some good info out of that. We know that it was fun to kind of talk about. And
well, we've got one more we're going to cover on this one. That's the 15th.
Oh, yeah.
Now, right. This one had, we did quite a few specs on this one. So, and one of them was from Jeff, one of our friends and viewers who gave us this spec in one of the comments, as I recall.
So he actually gave us 2 specs.
Oh, that's right. There were 2. One of which got him a Sharknado, a Sublime Epiphany, and a Signed Island.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which I'm just so sad that he didn't let me hit him in the face with a fish and spray him with a water hose.
Oh, that would have made a great video. I would have loved to share that on the show.
Yeah,
oh, well.
Yeah. He declined. I asked him to sign a waiver. He would not sign the waiver.
Oh, well.
So Jeff, I mean, props to you, sir, because Simic Ascendancy, from 78 cents the day you told us about it, up to $1.49 as of today, up 71 cents. That's almost a double up. So, man,
very well done, sir.
On that one for sure. And then your other one, Necromantic Selection, was $2.73 down to $2 today. So it has went down a little bit, but like we say in the biz, if it ain't broke, it ain't broke.
Well, a good card all the same, and given time, maybe they'll go up. I do know it. I think it only has 2 printings. Both are from Commander sets. So
yeah.
as more people start to interact with the new commander rule around the card, and see how that works, it could see some more interest. And I know it had jumped up. It had, I think, a double up since the rules changed, because I think it was like under $1 before that, if I recall what we discussed on the show. It's been a little while.
Yeah, so I think in this episode is when we started kind of hitting our stride a little bit, because we have some good picks in this episode here. You want to go ahead and I'll
start from the bottom. You start from the top. We'll work to the middle. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
All right. So this is one of my personal favorite specs from this show, and you've heard me talk about this card numerous times on episodes, and that is because it lets me play one of my favorite cards in Magic that's banned in Commander, and that's Tolarian Academy. But it's not Tolarian Academy. It's Storm the Vault. And this beautiful card was sitting at $2.73 when we talked about it. And his market price is up to $3.15, an increase of 42 cents in, was that a month now?
About a month, yeah.
Very, very good card. I know I picked up some more of these just, I think the week before we talked about this. I think I picked mine up for somewhere around the $220, $230. So glad I got them. They'll go in decks eventually. Currently, I have all my decks that can use it well, or currently have it. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, I've seen the power of Tolarian Academy both back in the day and just the other night.
Oh, yeah. I did pull this out in a game we were playing, EDH. Saheeli, and made ridiculous amounts of mana with it. It works.
And sharks.
And sharks. It was the shark storm. The vault apparently stormed with a sharknado.
Yeah, that's right.
So tell us about
Storm the Vault's a fantastic card, and I mean, I'm still
amazed.
It's not hard to flip. If you're in the right deck, it's not hard to flip at all.
No, in fact, typically it flips as easy, if not easier, than Growing Rites of Itlimoc does for me. Because generally in an artifact deck, having 5 artifacts is like turn 3.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just drops and flips, and then you're in mana heaven.
For sure. So another artifact we could talk about, and one of my favorite cards from Ikoria is the Ozolith. And, so when we first discussed this card, we were sitting at $5.45. Today, up to $5.86. So we've had an increase of 42 cents on the market side. And I just can't get enough of this card, man. It just screams combo.
Yeah, it just screams break me, which it's just going to get better. It's just going to get better.
Yeah.
As they print more cards, it's the kind of thing that just will naturally lend itself to getting better with every new set.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is still very spec worthy, guys. I don't see it has hit its ceiling yet. Especially with Ikoria being kind of, in this pandemic, probably under opened a little bit. I could see it going up quite a bit more than it has already.
I'm trying to remember the word. I got to look it up because I don't have the card in front of me. And something just occurred to me. It's kind of janky, but I need to read it and find out if it does.
Everyone likes a little jank.
So, yeah, it's too hard to do, but it could be done. I was looking at a way to double up counters on a Planeswalker, but you'd have to be running the Sarkhan that turns them into dragons.
Yeah.
And then you could sack, having, something to sack, like a Closet Gix or something like that, to sacrifice one of your Planeswalkers as you turned it into a dragon. It could even be the Sarkhan that you turned them into dragons with. Sack it. The counters go on Ozolith. Move your combat. They move over to your Planeswalker. And now essentially increasing it by, 3 to 5 loyalty, which could very well be enough to ultimate it.
Yeah.
It's janky as all get out, but sorry.
any of the Gideons that become creatures, that
Oh, yeah.
works with that too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that worked really well with Gideon's. A
Gideon
Gideon
Tribal.
tribal. Ooh.
Interesting,
That's
right? Yeah, that could be a fun one.
Okay. Anyway, that spec definitely was a winner. Now another one, and this is another card I really enjoyed that also I believe was the same set, Rivals of Ixalan, and that's Time Stream Navigator.
Yeah.
This one at the time was sitting at $3.24 market and is up to $3.75, up 51 cents from where it was just a month ago. And it's a creature that lets you take extra turns. It's breakable. Enough said. I'm in. Sign me up.
Sounds like a good way to spend a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
Time Stream Navigating. So one of our favorite cards since its inception, and I'm sure you guys will hear us say this multiple times on this channel because it's just a travesty that this card is only $5.81 today. But a month ago, it was $5.26.
Tell them what it is.
Cents. Nah. It's Hall of Heliod's Generosity. I love it. It's a great land. I mean,
so good.
We'll get to the other card that's like it in the next episode. The Academy
Ruins.
Academy Ruins. Thank you.
Happens.
We'll get to that in the next episode. But man, I love Hall of Heliod's Generosity. It goes in every enchantment deck. It goes in really any deck you're playing white and enchantments in. Like, it's just great.
I'm waiting for them to complete the cycle. They have the black one, Volrath Stronghold. You have Academy Ruins. You have Hall of Heliod's Generosity. I figure the red one is probably going to be like instants or sorcery to the top of the library is all I can guess. And that just leaves green. I'm like, you'd think it'd be creature, but maybe they'll do land.
Yeah, land would be kind of cool.
That'd be fun, landfall. Be able to...
Yeah.
Okay.
That'd be really cool. Creature or land, maybe?
Watsy, I hope you're listening. Make that.
Ideas. So, what do we got next here? A pretty surprising one.
What's that?
A pretty surprising one.
Yes. So, this one we talked about, thanks to a certain new commander being printed in M21 that was quite popular, still is, and that is Rin and Ciri. And that would be, the card is Leonin War Leader, which at the time was a market price of $2.67. It is now up to $3.27. That's an increase of 60 cents since July 15th. This card, I mean, it started heating up. I think prior to Rin and Ciri being printed, I think it was hovering right around the dollar mark. So when we talked about it, it had already begun its climb. And this one was one, I saw the commander, I saw this was people were excited about this building around Rin and Ciri. And I said, okay, what kind of cards would I want to run in something like that? And clearly a cat that can create cats or a dog that can create dogs jumped in my head as that would be really good in this deck. So my mind right away went to this card. I looked at it, I said, oh yeah, this is definitely jump on it, spec worthy. And it hasn't let the market down. No,
it has not. So next one we got here is Gravebreaker Lamia from Theros. And was 40 cents a month ago. Today it's 36 cents. So we are down 4 cents, but I just count that as a nil. I still really like the card in certain graveyard decks for EDH. I still think it's got its place. I still think it's undiscovered. Is it spec worthy still? I don't know that it's.
Well, we talked even then that it was a bit of a long shot. Yeah. However, I will note that the mid, when we talked about it, I believe was 39 cents. and it's now up to 49 cents on the mid. So it has seen an improvement on the mid, which isn't the best indicator, but it's a small bit of a bright side, a silver lining, if you will, to the card.
Sure.
And another silver lining is if you don't have these, get them now. They're cheap if you want them in decks. I know I run it in 2 decks. I have my Muldrotha and my Lurrus. Yeah. So here's another one. This one I had not been paying attention to since we talked about it. So when Trent did the research on this one, and I was like, oh my. Very nice. And that is a personal favorite of mine. It's a blue card. Go figure. Curse of the Swine. At the time of recording in July, a month ago, this was sitting on a market price of 97 cents and has since jumped up to a market price of $1.38. That's up 41 cents from where it was at. That's roughly 33% increase. So that's pretty good. Yeah. 30% increase.
Yeah.
Still a great card at that price. Like, so good. And I think part of what pushed this card's price up recently has been the popularity of Zexara.
Definitely. Yeah. In fact, Will, one of our commenters on some of our videos, he was trying to get a few X-Spell cards together.
In the Discord.
Yeah, so actually got him a Selvala and a Stomping Grounds hooked up for his deck there.
Cool.
So hopefully he'll be on and able to play with it pretty soon.
Selvala, the mana generating. Well, I guess both of them generate mana, but the busted mana generator.
Yeah, right. The one from Crown or Conspiracy.
Yeah. Actually, I had her out in my Zexara when we were playing that one game.
That's right.
And it went nuts. It did exactly what you would expect when you have a big, like 12/12 Hydra in play, and you then win.
Yeah. So this next one kind of hurts a little bit.
Because both you and I really like this card.
Yeah. I'm still all over it. Even it's down 17 cents. We were at 259 at recording.
Now tell them what it is.
242. I did. Winds of Abandon.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. I was probably too busy listening to myself talking.
So, man, down 17 cents. Again, only 17 cents. Still a fantastic card. Still has room to grow. Still a spec.
You know,
what can I say?
You may start to see this ticking up here soon, though, because the Modern Horizons is starting to get scarce. Like, boxes of Modern Horizons are starting to get scarce. It's out of print. They're drying up in the market. So you may start to see their cards starting to tick up here, probably within the next 4 to 6 months. You might start to see some growth on the cards. It may not be massive amounts, but you'll see some inflation on there. I have a feeling.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And that leaves us just one more card to talk about today.
Yeah.
And this one, I was a little surprised because when we did the show, this particular card, we hadn't at the moment realized that there had been a recent reprint of the card. Mm-hmm. And that's Aven Mind Sensor. Fantastic card, especially if you like just really pissing off your opponents because it's a very salt-inducing card. Mm-hmm. Now, at the time that we did the show, it was $1.62 market price and has jumped up to $1.98. That's up 36 cents from where it was just a month ago. Which, again, seeing that it had a reprint in Amonkhet was a little surprising. But what's also interesting is, have you seen the prices of boxes of Amonkhet?
I have not, but I can only imagine that they're going on the upside because they have the invocations in there. Yeah,
they're currently going right around $200.
Oh my goodness!
Close to $300.
What?
Yeah, and I think you hit it right on the head. It's the invocations and the masterpieces. So what I'm wondering is Hour, I don't know, I haven't checked on Hour, but if box prices on Hour are kind of following the same route, Hour just overall was not as good of a set as Amonkhet.
Right.
But it still had invocations in it, so if it hasn't already, it's probably going to follow the same path and trajectory as the other two.
Yeah,
and a while ago, BFZ did the same thing, Battle for Zendikar.
Right.
So it's got to be those invocate the lottery cards.
Yeah, and you can still find Amonkhet in any of the, like, some places you can find Kaladesh and Aether Revolt and these sets that have these invocations or masterpieces in them. And when I do, they're usually little hole-in-the-wall shops that just still, they don't get a lot of patronage.
Yeah.
They're still selling them for $3.99 a pack, and boy, oh boy, do I buy them all up. Because, I mean... Yeah. To get a shot at an invocation is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, that pretty much wraps up those first 3 episodes. Overall, I'd say, let's tally the scores here.
Oh, yeah.
So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 up, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 down, with 5 even. So if you're keeping score at home, that's not bad.
No.
That's not bad. 9, 11, and 5.
Yeah.
That's a good soccer team score. They probably make the playoffs or something. I don't know.
Especially considering a lot of these, even when we talked about them, we referred to them as long-term.
Yeah.
They had long-term potential, not necessarily short-term. So I'll be honest, that's better than I thought our scorecard would look. For this, literally stuff we spec'd on, 4 to 6 weeks ago.
Yeah. And keep in mind, most of those are from the very first episode when we were talking about nothing but Core 21.
Yep.
So really, those were kind of forced specs. If you asked us to go back and do it again, the only reason we were speccing on Core 21 was because it was coming out when we were starting the show. So we felt it was a good tipping off point. If you asked us to go back and redo it, we probably wouldn't have done that had it not coincided with a release of a set. So really, our scorecard looks much better than that.
Though we did definitely so far miss on Sublime Epiphany. But I think the only real miss as far as Sublime Epiphany is the people who haven't figured out just how crazy good it is. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. I'm with you.
Having played that now and had it played against me as well, I'm just like, this card's a blowout for 6 mana. 6 mana. Typically, when you're going to have a blowout in a game, it's going to run you 8 to 9 mana, and that's the, expropriates in the like of, haha, I win the game. Or maybe you just Sublime Epiphanied and won the game.
Yeah.
Crazy. So good.
Well, I guess that'll be it for this episode.
Yeah.
We're going to have another one coming out next week. We'll go over the following 4 episodes. So we really appreciate you guys hanging around and going through this with us. It's been super fun. We're going to continue making videos. We got some live things happening in this next few weeks for work. So we're trying to get some content out there for you guys for the next couple of weeks to chew on while we're making a real living.
Yeah, and I may end up having some streamed games come to you guys. I've been kicking around the idea for the last week or two. So we'll see if we're able to get that coming. Obviously, if you haven't subscribed to the website, please do so. Check out our gameplay videos, check out our other content, and obviously keep checking out Commanding the Market so you can stay up to speed on what's going on in the market and where you should be parking your dollars for investment. Trent?
Don't forget to like and subscribe the video, guys, and don't forget to keep commanding the market.
That's right. See you guys.